Captain Han Doyen stood at the back of the Grand Assembly Hall and tried not to show his anger. Around him, hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows that rose up like a giant bowl. The hall was massive. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. Holographic screens floated in the air, showing images of stars and planets. This was Nexus Prime, the greatest space station in the galaxy. It was the home of the Galactic Coalition, where 37 different alien species made decisions about trade, war, and peace. Earth had joined this group only 15 years ago. 15 years was nothing to these aliens. Some of them lived for hundreds of years. Their civilizations had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Humans were the youngest, the weakest, the least respected. On the stage below, Ambassador Yoon Ha-jin was finishing his presentation. He was a good man, Doyen thought, smart and patient, but right now he looked tired. His gray hair seemed grayer under the bright lights. His voice was steady, but Doyen could hear the strain in it. Behind the ambassador, a massive hologram showed Earth's new invention. It was called the Quantum Cascade Drive, or QCD for short. It looked like a sphere covered in blue energy lines. The lines twisted and curved in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. This drive system, Yoon said, can create temporary spatial corridors. Unlike the Coalition's warp gates, it does not need large stations or fixed routes. A ship with this drive can jump anywhere, anytime. Silence filled the hall. Then someone laughed. It was a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. Doyen knew that laugh. It belonged to High Counselor Vexnar, leader of the Velkari race. The Velkari looked like huge reptiles that walked on two legs. They had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were cold and yellow. Vexnar controlled most of the Coalition's transportation. His people owned the warp gates. They made billions from ships paying to use those gates. Earth's invention threatened that business. Primitive tinkering, Vexnar said. His voice boomed through the hall without any speaker system. The humans play with forces they do not understand. More laughter joined his. To the left, the Crixian section buzzed and clicked. The Crixians looked like giant insects with hard shells and too many legs. Their ambassador, War Marshal Crix, made a sound like grinding metal. It was how Crixians laughed. Dangerous amateur engineering, Crix said. His voice came through a translator that made it sound flat and cold. Such a device would tear a ship apart. On the right side of the hall, crystalline beings glowed with soft light. These were the Luminari, the scientists of the galaxy. They were made of living crystal that changed colors as they thought. Right now, their representative, Prime Scholar Ixthoris, was glowing a dull red. Doyen had learned that meant disapproval. Theoretically impossible, Ixthoris said. His voice sounded like wind through glass. Our calculations show this device cannot work as described. The energy requirements alone would destroy any known power source. And even if it worked, using it would be suicidal. Ambassador Yoon tried to respond. If you would look at our data, you would see that we have solved these problems. We have already tested the drive successfully. We have documentation and recordings of these tests. Tests? Vexnar laughed again. You mean your little jumps inside your own solar system? Child's play. A real drive must work across light years of space, under combat conditions, with enemy weapons trying to destroy it. The hall filled with noise. Aliens in every section were talking, laughing, making sounds that Doyen couldn't identify. None of them were saying anything good about Earth or its invention. Doyen felt his hands curl into fists. He forced them to relax. Getting angry wouldn't help. But it was hard, so hard. Earth had spent 10 years developing this drive. Brilliant scientists had given their lives to this project. Engineer Kang Mira had barely slept for the last 3 years, working day and night to make it perfect. And these aliens were laughing at it. Vexnar stood up. He was huge, almost 3 meters tall. His scales caught the light and made rainbow patterns across the nearby seats. I have a proposal, he said. His voice cut through the noise like a knife. Everyone went quiet. The Coalition War Games begin in 2 months. These games test our military readiness. They show which species have real power and which are weak. I propose that Earth be allowed to participate. He paused. His mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Let them prove their prototype works. Let them show us this miracle drive in action. The hall erupted. Everyone was talking at once. Doyen felt cold. The war games were serious. Ships fought in realistic combat simulations. Yes, there were safety protocols, but ships still got damaged. Crews still got hurt. Sometimes they died, and Earth had never participated before. The Coalition had always said Earth's ships were too primitive, too weak, not worth including. Now they were inviting Earth. But it wasn't a real invitation. It was a trap, Vexnar continued. Of course I understand if the humans decline. The war games are dangerous. Many experienced crews struggle to survive them. For Earth's inexperienced pilots flying their untested prototype, he trailed off. He didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. He was calling Earth cowards. Ambassador Yoon stood very still on the stage. Doyen could see him thinking, calculating. They both knew what would happen if Earth refused. The Coalition would never take them seriously again. Every proposal Earth made would be ignored. Every request for help would be denied. Earth would become a joke. But if Earth accepted and lost badly, the result would be the same. Worse even, they would be proved as weak as everyone thought. The QCD would be dismissed as a failure. All that work all those years for nothing. Yoon took a deep breath. Doyen saw the moment the ambassador made his decision. His back straightened. His chin lifted. Earth accepts, Yoon said. His voice carried through the huge hall. We will participate in the war games. We will prove our drive works. The noise was incredible. Aliens were hooting, clicking, buzzing, roaring. Most of them were laughing. On every holographic screen, Doyen could see betting odds appearing. The aliens were already gambling on how quickly Earth would be eliminated. The odds were not good. Most bets said Earth's ship wouldn't survive the first round. Doyen pushed through the crowd and made his way to the exit. He needed to contact his ship. He needed to talk to Mira. Most importantly, he needed to get away from this place before he did something that would cause a diplomatic incident, like punching Vexnar in his smug reptilian face. 2 hours later, Doyen was back on his ship, the Horizon. It was a research vessel, not a warship. It had good sensors and fast engines, but its weapons were basic. Just enough to defend against pirates or small threats. Not enough to fight in the war games. In the ship's main lab, engineer Kang Mira was watching a recording of the assembly. She was younger than Doyen, maybe 35 years old. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore the gray uniform of Earth's engineering corps. Her eyes were red. From anger or tears, Doyen couldn't tell. Maybe both, I'm sorry, Doyen said. I know how hard you worked on this. Mira stopped the recording. She looked at him. Then surprisingly, she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. A dangerous secret. Captain, there's something you need to know, she said. The drive we showed them today. The one in our presentation, that wasn't the real QCD. Doyen stared at her. What? I reduced its power output to 23%. I changed the specifications in our documentation. I made it look weaker than it really is. Why? Mira's smile faded. 3 months ago I received threats. Anonymous messages. They said if we demonstrated the full capability of the QCD, there would be consequences. The messages were traced back to the Velkari Transport Guild. Vexnar's people. She stood up and walked to a secure terminal. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. A new hologram appeared. This one showed a different version of the QCD. The energy patterns were brighter, faster, more complex. This is the real prototype, Mira said. It's been hidden in Earth's primary shipyard since we completed it. What we showed them today was like showing them a bicycle and claiming we invented transportation. The real QCD can calculate jumps in 0.3 seconds. It can execute multiple jumps in rapid succession. It can do things that break every rule of space combat that the Coalition has. Doyen felt his heart start to beat faster. Can it win the war games? Mira looked at him. I don't know. It's dangerous. Every jump has a risk of cascade failure. The more jumps we make in a short time, the higher the risk. We could destroy the ship, kill everyone on board, but it's possible. We have a chance. She nodded slowly. Yes, we have a chance. Maybe a good chance, if we're willing to risk everything. Doyen thought about the assembly hall, about the laughter, about Vexnar's mocking smile, about Earth being treated like a joke, like children playing at being adults. Contact Admiral Park, he said. Tell him we need the real prototype. Tell him we're going to the war games. And tell him we're going to show the entire galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. Mira smiled again. This time it was real. Yes, sir. As she turned to send the message, Doyen looked out the ship's window. Nexus Prime hung in space like a giant wheel covered in lights. Somewhere in that station, Vexenar was probably. The message reached Earth within hours. Admiral Park Taehyung read it 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. Then he smiled. It was a hard smile, the kind soldiers wore before battle. Park was 60 years old. He had fought in the Unification Wars 40 years ago, back when different nations on Earth still fought each other. He knew what it meant to be underestimated. He knew what it meant to win when everyone expected you to lose. He stood in the command center of Earth's primary shipyard, hidden on the dark side of the moon. Through the massive windows, he could see the real prototype. It hung in space like a predator, dark and sleek. The ship was smaller than most coalition warships, but every line of it spoke of speed and power. They had named it Phoenix. "Get me Commander Co. Jiho," Park said to his assistant. 10 minutes later, a young man walked into the command center. SEO Jiho was 32 years old and looked like he should be teaching school, not flying warships. He was slim with gentle features and wore glasses he didn't really need. But Park knew better than to judge by appearance. Jiho was the best combat pilot Earth had ever produced. "You wanted to see me, sir?" Jiho asked. "How would you like to fly the Phoenix?" Park asked. Jiho's eyes widened. Every pilot on Earth knew about the Phoenix. It was legend. The classified project. The ship that could change everything. "Sir, I would give anything for that chance." "Good. Because you're going to fly it in the Coalition War Games, against the best pilots in the galaxy." In combat conditions, Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. It was a cocky smile, full of confidence. "When do we start training?" "Now." Over the next week, Admiral Park assembled a team. Each person was the best at what they did. Each person understood what was at stake. Dr. Baek Suyeon was the first to arrive. She was a quantum physicist, one of the few people who truly understood how the QCD worked. She was 40 years old with gray streaks in her black hair and permanent dark circles under her eyes. She had spent the last 5 years doing calculations that would make most mathematicians cry. "The drive is ready," she told Park during their first meeting. "But you need to understand the risks. Every jump stresses the quantum field. Too many jumps too quickly and the field collapses. When that happens, the ship tears itself apart at the molecular level. There's no surviving it." "What are the odds?" Park asked. "Each jump has about a 12% chance of cascade failure. The more jumps we do in succession, the higher the risk. After 20 jumps in rapid sequence, we're at about 35%. After 50, we're over 60%. Park nodded slowly. "And how many jumps do you think we'll need to win?" Suyeon looked at him steadily. "If we want to dominate, to really show them what we can do, we'll need at least 80 jumps in the final round. That's certain death. Maybe. Or maybe we survive and change everything. Those are the only 2 options." The next person to join was Lieutenant Choi Woo-sung. He was a tactical officer, trained in something Earth called asymmetric warfare. It meant fighting when you were weaker than your enemy, finding clever ways to win when you shouldn't be able to. Woo-sung was short and stocky, built like a boxer. He had a scar across his left eyebrow from a training accident years ago. He studied the Phoenix for 3 days straight, learning every system, every weapon, every capability. Then he presented his analysis to the team. "The coalition fights in formations," he said. "They've been doing it the same way for thousands of years. Big ships in front, small ships on the flanks, everything coordinated and controlled. They're like a dance, very pretty and very predictable." He pulled up tactical displays showing famous coalition battles. They expect their enemies to follow the same rules, to engage at medium range, to test defenses before committing to an attack, to respect the traditional patterns of space combat. "We're not going to do that," Jiho said. It wasn't a question. "No," Woo-sung agreed. "We're going to break every rule they have. We're going to jump in at point-blank range. We're going to hit them from angles they think are impossible. We're going to move so fast their targeting computers can't track us. We're going to fight like they've never seen before." Engineer Mira arrived from Captain Doyen's ship. She spent her time making final adjustments to the Phoenix's systems. She barely slept. Most nights, the other crew members would find her in the engine room, running calculations or testing components. One night, Park found her there at 3 in the morning. She was staring at the quantum drive, her face lit by its blue glow. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "I keep thinking about all the ways this could go wrong," she said quietly. "Every calculation I might have missed. Every component that might fail. Every scenario where people die because I made a mistake. Park sat down next to her. I've sent people into combat before. Good people, friends, some of them didn't come back. You know what I learned? She looked at him. You can't carry that weight alone. Yes, you built this drive, but Jiho chose to fly it. Suyeon chose to calculate the jumps. Wusung chose to plan the tactics. They're not doing this because you forced them. They're doing it because they believe in it, because they believe in Earth. That's their choice, not your burden. Mira was quiet for a long time. Thank you, sir. The training was intense. Jiho spent hours in the simulator practicing jumps. At first, the movements made him sick. Jumping through space wasn't like normal flying. There was a moment of wrongness between each jump, a feeling like reality was bending around you. Some pilots couldn't handle it. They would panic or freeze, but Jiho adapted quickly. By the end of the first week, he was doing sequences of 10 jumps without hesitation. By the end of the second week, he could execute 20 jumps in under a minute. His movements became instinctive, fluid. He didn't think about jumping anymore. He just did it. Meanwhile, news about the war games spread across Earth. People knew that humanity was going to participate. They knew it was dangerous. What they didn't know was that Earth had a real chance to win. Captain Doyen returned to Earth for a classified briefing. He met with the team at the lunar shipyard. When he saw the Phoenix for the first time, he stopped walking and just stared. It's beautiful, he said. It's deadly, Mira corrected. Come on, let me show you what it can do. They watched Jiho run a training exercise. The simulator showed him fighting against 3 coalition cruisers. Standard tactics said he should keep his distance and try to outmaneuver them. Jiho didn't do that. He jumped directly into the middle of their formation. The cruisers tried to adjust, but he was already gone. He appeared behind one, fired, jumped. Appeared beside another, fired, jumped. The whole fight lasted 47 seconds. Doyen looked at Admiral Park. We can actually win this. Maybe, Park said. If everything goes perfectly, if we're lucky, if the crew doesn't make any mistakes, and if we lose, Park was quiet for a moment. Then we lose with honor. We show them we're not afraid. We show them that humanity doesn't give up, even when the odds are impossible. Sometimes that's enough. Meanwhile, out in the galaxy, the coalition was preparing, but they weren't preparing seriously. High Counselor Vexnar assigned his weakest ships to face Earth. He told his captains to go easy at first, to make the humans think they had a chance before crushing them. War Marshal Crick suggested using Earth's participation as training for young Crixian pilots. Let the cadets practice on them, he said. It will be good experience. Across 37 worlds, people were placing bets. The odds were heavily against Earth. Some bookmakers weren't even taking bets on Earth winning. The only bets they accepted were about how quickly Earth would lose. One night before departure, Admiral Park gathered the entire crew of the Phoenix. There were only 12 people. It was a small ship. Every person there was essential. Every person knew the risks. Park looked at each face. Young and old, men and women, scientists and soldiers. They were all volunteers, all the best humanity had to offer. I'm not going to lie to you, he said. This mission is dangerous. The quantum drive might fail. We might die. And even if everything works perfectly, we're still outnumbered and outgunned. He paused. But we have something they don't. We have the element of surprise. We have technology they think is impossible. We have tactics they've never seen. And most importantly, we have something to prove. They think we're weak. They think we're jokes. They think humanity is just a minor species playing at being important. His voice grew harder. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate us. Let's show them what humanity can do when we're pushed. Let's show them that being the youngest doesn't mean being the weakest. Are you with me? The response was immediate and loud. 12 voices shouting in agreement. 12 people ready to risk everything. The next morning, the Phoenix launched from the lunar shipyard. It moved silently through space, its quantum drive humming with contained power. The journey to the Caldris system would take 3 weeks at conventional speeds. Earth wanted to conserve the quantum drive for the actual games. Commander Jiho sat in the pilot's seat and felt the ship respond to his thoughts. The Phoenix was different from other ships. The connection between pilot and machine was deeper, more intimate. He could feel the quantum drive like a second heartbeat. Behind him, Dr. Suyeon checked her calculations one more time. Lieutenant Wusung reviewed tactical scenarios. The Caldris system was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Three suns orbited each other in a complex dance, bathing everything in orange and gold light. Around them, the coalition fleet hung in perfect formation. Each ship was positioned exactly where it should be. It looked like a military parade frozen in space. The Phoenix moved slowly toward the registration point. Inside the ship, Commander Jiho felt his heart beating fast. Not from fear, from anticipation. His hands rested lightly on the controls. The quantum drive was ready. He could feel it waiting like a coiled spring. "Phoenix, this is Caldrus Control," a voice said over the comm system. It was translated into English, but Jiho could hear the amusement in it. "Please proceed to staging area 17. That's the observers section. The observers section, not the competitors area. They were treating Earth like spectators, not participants. "Caldrus Control," Lieutenant Wusung replied calmly. "Phoenix is registered as an active competitor. Please direct us to the correct staging area." There was a pause, then laughter over the comm. "Of course. My apologies. Proceed to staging area 9. With the training vessels, more insults. Training vessels were ships used to teach young pilots. Putting Earth there was another way of saying they didn't belong with the real warships." "Let them laugh," Jiho said quietly. "We'll see who's laughing in a few hours." The first challenge was called the Gauntlet. It was supposed to be simple. Navigate through an asteroid field while 3 enemy fighters tried to shoot you down. Most ships just powered through, using their shields to protect them from both asteroids and weapons fire. Speed and armor. That was the standard strategy. The current record was 11 minutes and 32 seconds, held by a luminary cruiser. Earth was scheduled to go last. The game masters probably thought it would be funnier that way. Let everyone else finish, then watch the humans fail at the end. Entertainment for the whole galaxy. Jiho watched the other competitors on the view screen. Each one followed the same pattern. Enter the field. Dodge some asteroids. Take some hits from the fighters. Push through. Eventually make it to the other side. They're so predictable, Wusung muttered. No creativity. No surprise. Just brute force. Finally, it was Earth's turn. The Phoenix moved to the starting position. Across the galaxy, billions of beings tuned in to watch. Most expected this to be quick and embarrassing. The betting markets had Earth's time at over 20 minutes. Some bets said Earth wouldn't finish at all. "Phoenix, you're cleared to begin," the controller said. "Good luck." The word luck was said with a tone that meant they thought Earth would need a miracle. "All systems ready," Dr. Suyon called out. "Quantum drive stable. Tactical solutions prepared," Wusung added. Jiho took a breath. His fingers moved over the controls. "Beginning our run now." The Phoenix shot forward into the asteroid field. The 3 Crixian fighters immediately began pursuit. Their weapons charged. They spread out into a hunting formation. They had done this hundreds of times before. Then the Phoenix disappeared. One moment it was there, flying between asteroids. The next moment, nothing. Sensors showed empty space. The Crixian pilots looked around in confusion. Their targeting systems searched frantically. The Phoenix reappeared behind them. All 3 fighters at once. Point-blank range. Jiho fired a spread of pulse blasts. 3 direct hits. The Crixian shields flared and died. Their ships went dark, eliminated from the competition. Before anyone could react, the Phoenix jumped again. It vanished and reappeared deep inside the asteroid field, in a position that should have been impossible to calculate. No ship could plot a jump there. The space was too tight, too dangerous. One miscalculation and you'd materialize inside an asteroid. But the Phoenix moved through that deadly space like it was a dance floor. Jump. Appear. Between 2 spinning asteroids. Jump. Emerge. From behind a rock the size of a city. Jump. Materialize at an angle that made the watching crowd gasp. 47 seconds after starting, the Phoenix crossed the finish line. 47 seconds. The previous record was 11 minutes and 32 seconds. Earth had beaten it by more than 10 minutes. Silence fell over the Caldrus system. Every ship, every station, every broadcast channel went quiet. No one knew what to say. What they had just seen was impossible. Ships couldn't move like that. Physics didn't work like that. Then the questions started. What just happened? How did they do that? Did anyone see where they went? Is this a trick? Some kind of illusion? High Counselor Vexnar stood in his observation box staring at the screens. His yellow eyes were wide. His scaled face showed no expression, but inside he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Review the sensor data. he ordered his staff. Find out what they did. Prime Scholar Ixthoris was already doing that. His crystalline body flickered through colors as he processed information. Red for confusion, purple for surprise, blue for rapid calculation. He had spent his entire life studying physics. Nothing he saw made sense. Impossible, he whispered. The energy readings, the jump calculations. They're doing quantum displacement in real time, without a navigation computer array, without a team of physicists, just the pilot and maybe one support scientist. It's impossible. But it had happened. Everyone had seen it. Inside the Phoenix, the crew allowed themselves a moment of celebration. Jiho grinned. Wusung pumped his fist. Even Dr. Suyeon smiled, though she immediately started checking the drive systems. Jump stress at 18%, she reported. Well within safe limits. Drive performance exceeding predictions. We're good for the next round. That was beautiful, Engineer Mira said from the engine room. The drive performed perfectly. Every calculation was exact. We couldn't have asked for better results. The second challenge came an hour later. Ship-to-ship combat. Earth would face a single opponent, a Valkyrie heavy cruiser called the Dominus. It was a famous ship. It had won this competition 3 times in the past. Its shields had never been breached in war games history. The Dominus was huge. It was 50 times larger than the Phoenix. Its armor was thick. Its weapons were powerful. Standard tactics said you couldn't beat it through direct combat. You had to outmaneuver it, tire it out, wait for it to make mistakes. Most fights against the Dominus lasted over an hour. The captain of the Dominus was confident. Too confident. He broadcast a message to the Phoenix. Little human ship, you got lucky in the first round. This time you face a real warship. Surrender now and save yourselves the embarrassment. Jiho looked at Wusung. Should we respond? No, Wusung said with a cold smile. Let's just show him. The match began. The Dominus moved forward slowly, its shields at maximum power. Its weapons locked onto the Phoenix. The standard opening. Strong and intimidating. The Phoenix didn't respond with weapons. It jumped. It reappeared at the Dominus's rear section, the blind spot. Every ship had one, a place where sensors couldn't quite reach, where weapons couldn't quite aim. The Phoenix materialized there and immediately fired concentrated pulse blasts at the engine manifolds, the weakest point on any large ship. The Dominus's captain tried to rotate his ship. Too slow. The Phoenix jumped again before the heavy cruiser could turn. It appeared on the other side. Fired again. Different engine. Same result. Jump. Fire. Jump. Fire. The Phoenix moved around the Dominus like a bee stinging a bear. Each time it targeted areas where the shields were weakest. Each time it disappeared before the cruiser could respond. The Dominus's captain grew desperate. He activated all his point defense systems. He fired weapons in every direction. He tried to predict where the Phoenix would appear next. Nothing worked. The little ship was too fast, too unpredictable, too precise. 93 seconds into the fight, the Dominus's engines failed. Its shields flickered and died. Its weapons went offline. The great warship that had never been defeated in war games history sat dead in space, eliminated by a ship 1/50th its size. This time, there was no silence. The coalition channels erupted with noise, shock, disbelief, fear. Some accused Earth of cheating. Others demanded the Phoenix be inspected. Still others simply watched in stunned amazement. War Marshal Crix leaned forward on his command throne. His insect eyes tracked the Phoenix's movements on replay. Interesting, he clicked. Very interesting. The final preliminary round was announced. Fleet action. Earth would be given 5 standard coalition frigates to command. They would face a Luminari task force of 15 ships. This scenario had never been won by the smaller fleet. Never. Not once in 300 years of war games. The Luminari admiral was ancient and experienced. He had commanded fleets for 2 centuries. He arranged his 15 ships in a classic formation. Beautiful and deadly, every ship knew its role. Every captain trusted the plan. This was how wars were won. Through discipline, through coordination, through proven tactics. Captain Doyen took command of the 5 frigates. He had traveled from Earth specifically for this round. The frigates were standard ships, nothing special. But they had good crews, and they had practiced working with the Phoenix. Frigate captains, this is Doyen, here's the plan. You engage them normally. Standard fleet tactics. Draw their attention. Make them think they understand what's happening. The Phoenix will do the rest. The battle began. The 5 frigates moved forward in a defensive formation. The Luminary fleet advanced confidently. Commander Seo Jiho woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later. Everything hurt. His ribs were wrapped in medical tape. His eyes were covered with healing patches. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped softly in the quiet room. For a moment he panicked. Where was he? What had happened? Then memory came flooding back. The battle. The jumps. The victory. Welcome back, Commander, a voice said. It was Dr. Suyon. She sat in a chair beside his bed. Her left arm was in a sling. She looked tired but alive. The others? Jiho asked. His voice was rough. Everyone survived. Lieutenant Wusung has 3 broken ribs and a fractured collarbone. Engineer Mira has neural damage from quantum radiation exposure. She'll need months of treatment. Captain Doyen needed reconstructive surgery on his left shoulder. But we're all alive. Jiho closed his eyes in relief. The Phoenix? Destroyed. The quantum drive melted from the inside. The hull integrity failed at the molecular level. If we had tried one more jump, the ship would have torn apart with us inside it. She paused. We were gambling with death on every jump after number 80. We got very, very lucky. It was worth it, Jiho said. Yes, Suyon agreed softly. It was. Outside the hospital, the galaxy was changing. The Coalition Council had convened an emergency session immediately after the war games ended. The sessions lasted for days. Accusations flew. Tempers flared. Ancient alliances began to crack. High Counselor Vexnar was the first to fall. The other Velkari representatives turned on him like wolves on a wounded member of the pack. He had promised them an easy victory. He had assured them Earth would be humiliated. Instead, he had led them to the most embarrassing defeat in Velkari history. The council voted to censure him. His position as High Counselor was stripped away. His family lost their trade licenses. His name became a joke. The mighty Vexnar defeated by humans. Children across Velkari worlds used his name as an insult. War Marshal Krix faced a military tribunal. The Krixian swarm did not accept failure easily. His entire command was investigated. Officers who had participated in the war games were questioned. Some were demoted. Others were dismissed from service. Krix himself was forced into retirement, his reputation destroyed. The Luminari responded differently. Prime Scholar Ixthoris traveled to Earth personally. He came alone without guards or assistants. He requested a meeting with Dr. Suyon and Engineer Mira. They met in a secure facility at the lunar shipyard. Ixthoris's crystalline body glowed a soft blue. It was the color of respect and curiosity in Luminari culture. I came to apologize, he said without preamble. His voice was like wind through crystal, beautiful and clear. We called your work impossible because we could not do it ourselves. We mistook our limitations for universal law. This was arrogance. This was wrong. Mira and Suyon looked at each other. They had expected many things, but not this. The Luminari have spent 10,000 years believing we were the pinnacle of scientific achievement. Ixthoris continued. Your species has been in space for barely 2 centuries. Yet you have shown us something we never imagined. You have taught us that innovation comes from fresh perspectives, not ancient knowledge. He bowed, a gesture of deep respect in his culture. Humanity has given the Coalition a valuable lesson in humility. I hope we are wise enough to learn it. The political consequences rippled outward. The Velkari transport monopoly began to collapse. 17 worlds demanded access to quantum drive technology. They threatened to leave the Coalition if they were denied. Trade agreements were torn up. New alliances formed. The galaxy's economic structure, stable for thousands of years, began to shift. Ambassador Yoon found himself suddenly very popular. His office was flooded with meeting requests. Delegations from across the Coalition wanted to speak with Earth. Some wanted trade agreements. Others wanted technology exchanges. Still others wanted defensive pacts. Earth was no longer a joke. Earth was a power, a threat, a potential ally worth courting. Admiral Park oversaw the construction of Earth's new defense fleet. The Phoenix had been a prototype, a proof of concept. Now Earth built production models. Better designs, safer quantum drives, more powerful weapons. The second-generation ships were called the Icarus class. The first Icarus rolled out of the lunar shipyard 6 months. After the war games, it was larger than the Phoenix, sleeker, deadlier. Its quantum drive could execute 100 jumps before reaching dangerous stress levels. Its weapons were twice as powerful. Its shields could withstand hits that would have destroyed the Phoenix. Within a year, Earth had 12 Icarus-class ships. Within 2 years, 36. The orbital shipyards worked day and night. Humanity was building a fleet that could defend itself, that could fight if necessary, that would never be helpless again. But Earth did not become aggressive. They did not seek conquest or domination. Instead, they offered partnership. Technology exchange programs began. Human engineers taught alien scientists about quantum mechanics. In return, humans learned about energy shielding, faster-than-light communication, and biological engineering. Both sides benefited. Both sides grew stronger. 6 months after the War Games, the Coalition Assembly held a special session. Captain Doyen was invited to speak. He had been promoted to Commodore for his leadership during the Games. He stood before the same assembly that had once laughed at Earth's presentation. The hall was full. Every representative was present. They watched him with different eyes now. No more mockery, no more contempt. Now they watched with respect, and perhaps a little fear. Doyen stood at the podium and looked out at the assembled beings. He saw Velkari with their shimmering scales, Crixians with their insect features, Luminari glowing in their seats. 37 different species, 37 different civilizations. 6 months ago I stood in this hall and watched you laugh at us, he began.
His voice was calm and steady.
You mocked our technology. You dismissed our capabilities. You treated us like children playing at being adults. He paused, let his words sink in. I want you to understand something. Humanity did not seek to shatter your empire. We did not come here looking for conflict. We came seeking partnership, cooperation, a place in this galaxy where we could contribute and grow. The mockery was your choice. The contempt was your choice. The attempt to humiliate us, to hurt us, to potentially kill us in those war games, those were your choices, not ours. His voice grew harder. You forced us to show you what we are capable of when pushed. You forced us to prove ourselves in the most violent way possible. Remember this, we held back. Even at our moment of total victory, when we could have destroyed High Counselor Vexnar's flagship, we showed mercy. We chose not to kill when we easily could have. The hall was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. But understand this as well, Doyen continued. We will never be underestimated again. We will never be mocked again. We will never be dismissed as a minor species playing at importance. If any member of this coalition seeks to threaten Earth or its interests, you will discover what humanity builds when we are not making prototypes. When we are not holding back, when we are actually trying. He let the threat hang in the air for a moment. Then his voice softened. But that is not what we want. We want what we have always wanted. Partnership, cooperation, peace, the choice is yours. It has always been yours. Choose wisely. Doyen stepped down from the podium. The hall remained silent as he walked to the exit. Then slowly one being began to clap. Then another, then more. Within seconds, the entire assembly was applauding. Not the polite applause of diplomatic courtesy. Real applause, respect, acknowledgement. 1 year after the War Games, Commander Jiho returned to active duty. His injuries had healed, though he would always have scars. His eyes were still sensitive to bright light. He would need glasses for the rest of his life. But he could fly again. That was all that mattered. He was assigned to one of the new Icarus-class ships. It was called the Rising Sun. It was beautiful, fast, powerful, but it wasn't the Phoenix. Nothing would ever be the Phoenix. The Phoenix itself had been taken apart and studied. Every component was examined. Every system was analyzed. What could be salvaged was placed in a museum on Earth. The rest was recycled into the new ships. In a way, the Phoenix lived on in every Icarus-class vessel. Its legacy continued. Engineer Mira recovered from her radiation exposure, though she would need regular medical treatments for the rest of her life. She became the head of Earth's quantum drive research program. Under her leadership, the technology continued to advance. 3rd generation drives, 4th generation, each one safer and more powerful than the last. Dr. Suyan won the Coalition's highest scientific honor, the Crystal Star. She was the first human to receive it. At the ceremony, she gave a speech about the importance of questioning assumptions and remaining open to new ideas. It became required reading at universities across 30 worlds. Lieutenant Wusung became an instructor at Earth's military academy. He taught tactics and strategy to the next generation of officers. His course on asymmetric warfare was famous. Students called it the hardest class in the academy. They also called it the most valuable. Admiral Park retired 2 years after the war games. He had accomplished everything he set out to do. Earth was safe. Earth was respected. Earth had a future among the stars. He spent his retirement writing a book about. The announcement came 12 hours later. The championship round would be different from anything before. High Counselor Vexnar made the announcement himself. His voice was cold and hard as he spoke to the assembled representatives. For the final round, we have made adjustments. For greater realism. He paused, letting his words sink in. Safety protocols will be reduced. Weapons will operate at 85% live power. Shields will function at combat specifications. This will be as close to real warfare as we can safely achieve. Ambassador Yoon stood up immediately. High Counselor, this is irregular. Safety protocols exist for a reason. People could die. These are war games, Ambassador. Vexnar replied smoothly. Not training exercises. If Earth feels unprepared for real combat conditions, you are welcome to withdraw. No one would think less of you. Everyone knew that was a lie. Withdrawing would destroy everything Earth had gained. It would prove that Earth's victories were flukes. That humanity couldn't handle real pressure. The Coalition Council voted. 16 in favor, 14 against, 7 abstentions. The new rules would stand. Admiral Park watched the vote from Earth. His face showed no emotion, but inside he was angry. This was an obvious attempt to hurt or kill the Phoenix crew. To eliminate Earth's advantage while claiming it was just standard procedure. He opened a secure channel to the Phoenix. Captain Doyen appeared on the screen. Behind him, Park could see the rest of the crew. They all looked tired but determined. You saw the vote? Park asked. We saw it, Doyen confirmed. I won't order you to fight under these conditions. This is your choice. All of you. If you want to withdraw, no one on Earth will blame you. You've already proven our point. You've shown the galaxy what we can do. Doyen looked at his crew. One by one, they nodded. Jiho, Suyeon, Wusong, Mira, all of them. Every single person. Admiral, Doyen said, we didn't come this far to back down now. They changed the rules because they're afraid. Because we're winning. We're going to finish this. Park nodded slowly. Then good hunting. And come home safe. The championship round was scheduled for the next day. Earth would face the combined forces of 3 military powers. 12 Valkyrie capital ships. 23 Crixian vessels ranging from fighters to carriers. 22 Luminari cruisers and destroyers. 57 ships total, not counting the hundreds of fighters and support craft. Against this armada, Earth had the Phoenix and 5 frigates. The betting markets called it impossible. Even those who had been impressed by Earth's earlier victories said this was too much. You couldn't fight those numbers. You couldn't overcome that much firepower. 3 billion beings across the galaxy tuned in to watch. This was the most watched event in Coalition history. Everyone wanted to see how humanity's story would end. Most expected it to be tragic. Inside the Phoenix, the crew made their final preparations. Dr. Suyeon ran one last diagnostic on the quantum drive. The readings made her nervous. The drive had performed 27 jumps in the previous rounds. Each jump added stress to the system. Each jump increased the risk of cascade failure. How many jumps can we safely do? Jiho asked. Suyeon hesitated. Define safely. How many until cascade failure becomes likely? After 60 total jumps, we're at 40% risk. After 80, we're at 67%. After 90, we're over 75%. She looked at him seriously. Commander, if we do 90 jumps, we'll probably die. And if we don't do enough jumps, we definitely lose, Jiho said quietly. Sometimes you have to bet everything. The battle began at noon, Caldra system time. The Coalition fleet formed their hammer and anvil formation. It was a formation 10,000 years old. It had won battles across the galaxy. It had crushed rebellions and conquered worlds. The Valkyrie dreadnoughts formed the anvil in the center, their massive bulk and firepower creating an unbreakable wall. The Luminari cruisers swept around as the hammer, fast and precise. The Crixian fighters swarmed the flanks, ready to pursue and overwhelm. It was beautiful, intimidating, perfect. The Phoenix ignored it completely. Instead of engaging at the edge of the formation, instead of trying to outmaneuver the hammer, instead of doing anything predictable, The Phoenix jumped directly into the center of the enemy fleet. Across every broadcast channel, commentators declared it suicide. You didn't jump into the middle of an enemy formation. That was how you died. Surrounded, overwhelmed, destroyed from every direction. Then the Phoenix started moving. What happened next was almost impossible to describe. The Phoenix became a blur. It appeared behind a Crixian carrier and destroyed its fighter bays with precise shots. Jump. It materialized beneath a Velkari dreadnought, targeting the gravity stabilizers that kept the massive ship oriented. Jump. It emerged inside a luminary cruiser's shield envelope, firing at point-blank range. Jump. The Coalition fleet tried to respond. Weapons fired in every direction. Shields went to maximum power. Fighters launched and swarmed. But they were fighting a ghost. By the time they aimed their weapons, the Phoenix was gone. By the time they calculated a firing solution, it had moved. By the time they reacted, 3 more of their ships were damaged or destroyed. Inside the Phoenix, alarms were screaming. Red lights flashed on every console. The quantum drive was running hot, too hot. The temperature readings were climbing into dangerous territory. Jump 47 complete, Suyan called out. Her voice was strained. Cascade failure probability at 23% and climbing. Drive temperature at 112% of safe limits. Keep going, Jiho said. His hands moved across the controls with practiced precision. He didn't think anymore. He just moved. Jump, fire, jump, fire. It was like breathing. Engineer Mira overrode safety protocols in the engine room. The systems were designed to shut down before reaching critical stress. She disabled those systems. If they were going to do this, they were going all the way. The Phoenix crew was suffering. The rapid jumps created forces that even the inertial dampeners couldn't fully counter. Jiho felt blood vessels burst in his eyes. His vision went red around the edges. His ribs cracked from the stress of high G-turns. Beside him, Wusung's nose was bleeding. Suyun's hands shook as she entered calculations. But they kept fighting. 20 minutes into the battle, the Phoenix had eliminated 32 enemy vessels. The coalition formation had completely collapsed. Ships were scattered across the battlefield. Some tried to group together. Others fled. Still others fired wildly at empty space, hoping to hit the Phoenix by chance. Jump 73, Suyun gasped. Cascade probability at 41%. Commander, we need to consider withdrawal. Not yet, Jiho said. Blood ran down his chin from where he'd bitten his lip. One more target. The big one. High Counselor Vexnar watched from his flagship, the Inexorable. It was the largest ship in the Velkari fleet. The most powerful. The most heavily armed. And right now, it was the only coalition command ship still fully operational. His yellow eyes tracked the Phoenix's movements. Or tried to. The ship was too fast, too unpredictable. His tactical officers were shouting contradictory orders. His weapons crew was firing at ghosts. Around him, his perfect battle plan had turned into chaos. For the first time in his long life, Vexnar felt fear. Then the Phoenix appeared directly in front of the Inexorable. So close that Vexnar could see details on its hull, scorch marks from weapon impacts, stress fractures in the armor. The blue glow of its quantum drive pulsing like a heartbeat. For 5 seconds, the two ships faced each other. The tiny Phoenix and the massive Inexorable. David and Goliath. The mouse and the lion. Then Captain Doyen's voice came over every communication channel in the system. His face appeared on every screen. He was bleeding. His uniform was torn, but his eyes were steady and his voice was strong. High Counselor Vexnar, you wanted to see what human engineering could do. We've been holding back. The Phoenix fired, not at the Inexorable itself. At the space around it, the quantum weapons created a field, a cage of folded space. The massive dreadnought couldn't move. Its engines fired uselessly. Its weapons couldn't aim through the distortion. It was trapped, helpless. The entire coalition fleet stopped. Every ship, every fighter, everyone watched the impossible sight of the Velkari flagship held prisoner by a ship 1/50th its size. Doyen continued speaking. His words were broadcast to every world in the coalition. This is Earth's message. We came to your coalition seeking partnership, not domination. We showed you our technology seeking cooperation, not conflict. You responded with mockery and attempted murder. He paused. Let the silence stretch. So let me be clear. This is our prototype. Our first attempt. Our amateur engineering. If you want to see what we build when we're actually trying, He didn't finish the sentence.
He didn't need to.
Everyone understood the threat. Inside the Phoenix, warning alarms reached a crescendo. Jump 89 complete, Suyan said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Cascade probability 67%. Drive temperature critical. Commander, if we jump one more time, we're dead. Then we better make this count, Jiho said. He released the spatial cage holding the inexorable. The dreadnought drifted free, its systems slowly coming back online. This is the Phoenix to all coalition forces, Doyen broadcast. Stand down, surrender, or we continue. For 10 seconds, nothing happened.